Namaste, Moon Sisters, and maybe Moon Brothers. But this message is for all of the women out there. First, happy International Women's Day. At the time of this recording, it is International Women's Day, and I am celebrating all of the women out there that are tuning into this video. It's funny because 2 years ago, around this time of year, for 5 months in a row, I was sitting here in my office just like this, recording to you on my iPhone in a very unprofessional vertical format instead of going to the horizontal widescreen. And my son was usually downstairs, or my husband was taking care of them. And I was here just sending message after message after message to help others self-heal their limited programming, to help others believe in their ability to manifest and co-create their reality, and to just change their point of view and their outlook on the way that they exchange their energy with this outer world, with this cosmos that is ever expanding, ever developing. It was my dream to do that. Now, I continue this dream. I continue to help women help themselves heal, help themselves go on a journey of manifestation, and help them create their wildest dreams. Along that way, I have created my own dreams. I have manifested more into my reality. And right now, I'm back in that karmic loop. I'm sitting at home. My toddler, he's a toddler now. He's about to turn 3. He's downstairs napping. I'm up here in my home office doing what I love to do, making a video for you all. And as I look up right now, I see this magical number that's always a sign, 222. 222 is the sign of the feminine, the lineage of the rose. And it's a sign that's been showing up to me, a number that's been showing up to me for the past year and a half. So I know that this is what I should be doing right now. I wanted to make a video to share with you a message that came out of a book that I just finished. And it's funny because it's taken me several years to actually get my hands on this book and read it. Even though the library's had it, I've just been lazy. It's been hard to read with, a baby that's now a toddler, but it's getting easier. So the book, The Dance of the Dissident Daughter, and this will be backwards from the video, but The Dance of the Dissident Daughter by Sue Monk Kidd. So good. I have to buy this. This one's from the library, and actually I'm like a week overdue, but I had to keep it because I wanted to read this excerpt to you before I return the book. And I knew I wouldn't get it in time by International Women's Day. I knew I wouldn't get a copy if I ordered it. So that's really my message that I have for you today. So I'm going to go ahead and just read these few pages to you straight from this book. And then we'll talk more after that. But this is the message for you. If you are a sister out there, if you are one of my moon sisters, if you are any sort of woman out there that cradles that sacred, magical womb, this message is for you. By Sue Monk Kidd, The Dance of the Dissident Daughter. And she's talking about Sappho. Okay, so I'm just going to read here. It says, I did the ritual you do in museums. Stand before one painting a respectable amount of time, cock your head back and forth, then go stand before the next one. I'd viewed a half dozen without getting much of a story from them when I came upon a dark, brooding painting of a woman from ancient Greece entitled Sappho. Unmistakably, it began to tell a tale. It pictured the female poet of ancient Greece, sitting alone on a divan, her face in shadow, her lyre dropped to the floor, and her arm dangling limply over it. There was something painfully resonant about the image, the deserted lyre, the unspoken lament that flowed from the white bone of her arm down to the curl of her fingers, and worst of all, the silence. The painting touched the place in me where my own lyre lay dropped and silent. I didn't know a lot about Sappho, but I did know she was a poet of ancient Greece and that her work had vanished into the trash can of history. There happened to be a library next door, so I walked over to see what more I could find out. I found that during her life, Sappho was not silent at all, but extravagantly lyrical. In Sappho, the Western world heard perhaps for the first time in written history the lush, creative voice of the female. Her lyric voice graced the world with a power that was unsurpassed. While male poets of her day were writing and singing of war, politics, and worldly commerce, the lyric Sappho sang poems about love and suffering, about orchards and crickets and the moon in its roundness. At times, her voice was joyful and sublime, other times insulting and ironic, but it was always fired with individual truth. The silent Sappho came later, as her voice was condemned by patriarchy. In 350 CE, the Bishop of Constantinople ordered her writings burned wherever found. Today, of the more than 500 poems she wrote, only 700 lines or fragments remain. Sitting in the library, I speculated that both aspects, the silence and the lyricism, existed inside women. I'm going to skip forward now. The lyric Sappho is another image of an empowered female self. She is the woman in us who takes up her real work, creates, sings her verses to the world, and she does so through the connection she establishes within her deep feminine instinct, a connection symbolized in the picture by the golden snakes. To be empowered as women, eventually we must turn our snakes into lyres and strum our hearts out. When I lament the loss of women's creativity through history, my friend Karen in Utah reminds me that women's creativity has always been there, but many times it was erased from history or stolen and used by men. Karen is a musician who has studied women composers. They've always been there, she says, but have been left out of dictionaries and catalogs, often by 19th century men. Yet women's creativity has always been absent because of women's subordination and the denial of their value. I'm going to say that again. Women's creativity has also been absent because of women's subordination and the denial of their value. Rather than creating ourselves, we've often been content to be muses to men, making their creativity possible. Sometimes when we have created, we've not used the mother tongue of our own soul, but parroted patriarchal thought, turned out reframed versions of what we had heard it saying. And as Karen points out, when we have spoken in our true creative voices, we frequently have been neglected, obscured, or overlooked. I cannot tell you how many women I meet who say, "Oh, I'm just not creative." It breaks my heart because every woman is creative in some way. And every woman's creativity is valuable. Perhaps we think of creativity too narrowly. When a woman takes a cornfield and turns it into a woodland garden where women gather to talk and dance and feed their souls, like my friend Betty did, she is being a lyrical Sappho, creating out of her soul. When she develops an imaginative plan, which businesses can give a portion of their sales to abused women's shelters and environmental groups, like another friend of mine did, she too is strumming the lyre of snakes. If someone should ask me, what does the soul do? I would say it does two things. It loves and it creates. Those are its primary acts. The replanted, rewoven female soul sets loose a fecund spirit inside us. We grow fertile with new words, new ideas, new consciousness, new lyricism, new energy. Our journey deposits psychological or spiritual energy, empowerment into our internal banks. As Mary Catherine Bateson points out, there is physical energy from finite resources, but psychic or spiritual energy, what might be called vitality, is something else entirely. The energy to write this page is released by metabolized food, writes Bateson, but the psychic energy to write this page depends on my state of mind, and such energy can come from a sunset or a remembered smile. The energy or vitality to create is engendered from the soul. The first step toward lyricism is simply acknowledging our creativity. Second, we must explore it. Ask yourself, what is my deepest passion really? What moves me profoundly? And let the answer float up from the truest, most vulnerable place in your heart. Greet this answer like it is your own newborn self being placed in your arms. Love it, bond with it, feed it. Don't push it aside, minimalize, make excuses, and starve this thing of beauty, because this answer is the window into your creative life. Third, we need to commit to our creative path. I don't mean to want to do it in our hearts or to make plans to do it. I mean to actually do it. When I teach at writers' conferences, I often meet women with books inside them they never write down. I meet women with all kinds of dazzling projects their souls have concocted that for some reason they never get around to manifesting. I know this dilemma firsthand. For me, it is often a lack of focus, allowing my energy to run out in dozens of directions, many of them silly tributaries of distraction, rather than setting priorities and funneling my energy toward the project at hand. Part of women's genius lies in our ability to make multiple commitments, to do many tasks, and to live with ambiguity and multiplicity. It's true that power can come from the flexibility of doing many things, but sometimes the multiplicity, the moving from one thing to another, is overdone and we diffuse our power. There are times it is best to dam up the tributaries and send the energy thundering in just one direction. All great things are launched on big rivers. Closely connected is the matter of drawing boundaries. A retired woman came to me miserable and frustrated and said every time she set aside time to write, her husband would come into the room and launch into all sorts of topics or else stare at her pitifully until she stopped. She had not wanted to confront him, and her writing had practically ceased. I suggested to her that there comes a time when we have to put our foot down. Clarissa Pinkola Estes writes, "If we were to abuse our children, social services would show up at our doors. If we were to abuse our pets, the Humane Society would come to take us away. But there is no creativity patrol or soul police to intervene if we insist on starving our own souls." Got a little bit more here. Empowerment involves learning to make boundaries and protect them. Another problem that keeps us from manifesting our creativity is a resistance to act. I'm not talking about being creatively idle. Sometimes I do my best creative work when I am spread eagle on the grass with my eyes closed. Never lose that sort of sacred dawdling. The resistance to act is of a different sort. It is an odd contention that rises up inside and keeps us from beginning and then keeps us from following through. How are we going to live empowered lives if we don't lose that? Often we like to dwell in the rapturous realm of imagination, passion, and ideas, but hate to follow through with the legwork that brings those images, passions, and ideas into actual existence. I've had to learn this many times. Tapping the flow of the soul is only half the creative process. The other half is figuring out how to do commerce with the practical world. Maybe we have to learn how to use a computer or make a plan to market our idea or network with people or go out and find the place to hold the workshop. Being committed means learning what we need to know and doing what we need to do in order to make the voice of our souls heard. And finally, to be empowered creatively, we need to understand what to do when we move from lyricism back to silence. Inevitably, I get discouraged and lose creative direction or passion, that psychic or spiritual energy I was referring to earlier. When that happens, I've learned to drop down into the creative nothing. I do sacred dawdling. I turn to nature. I lie on the earth or dig in the dirt. I get still, go silent, rest, take herbal baths, listen to Bach's concerto or James Taylor full blast. I buy flowers. I drink cinnamon tea. I play with my dogs. I meditate, and I create rituals. The main thing is to stop struggling and nourish yourself. When you nourish yourself, your creative energy is renewed. You are able to pick up your lyre again and sing. I know that was a little long, but I hope that you listen to the message, and you can go back and listen to it again now that it's recorded. But this touched me so strongly. And it's funny because I was called to read this book for so long, and then I was actually called to pick it up at the beginning of this year, and I did. And I have been so inspired in so many pages of this book, but especially this part about women's creativity. Now, if this is the message and this is enough, you can go ahead and in this video and go about your day. And I wish you a blessed International Women's Day. May you fuel your creativity. May you fuel the flames of your heart. May you fan them with the breath of your prana and your vitality. May you surround your dreams with action and faith and know that they will come true. You are a co-creatress with this reality and with this universe. And I hope that this message has inspired you to pick up your dreams and really create them in this new earthly reality. Now I have an additional message for you. I want to talk a little bit more about those videos I was creating, about all of that work I was doing for 5 months, 2 years ago, and what that's turned into today. I have created a signature online manifestation program exclusively for women. It's called Conscious Creatress, and it's a 4-month journey through your heart, through your center of empowerment, your solar plexus, through your energy center of creativity, your sacral chakra, and through your energy center of earthly manifestation, your root chakra. We also journey through these 4 energy centers of manifestation over 4 lunar cycles so that you can connect directly to nature. Manifestation doesn't work by the calendar that we've developed with our human reality, the Gregorian calendar, January through December, 30 days at a time. The moon cycle is about every 28 to 29 and a half days, but our calendar doesn't follow that lunar cycle. I have found with my own journey over the past decade and longer that the more that I work with the lunar phases, the easier it is to manifest my dreams. The easier it is to find balance with my energy. The easier it is to self-heal things that I'm going through emotionally and to release those emotional blockages. I have gathered up all of the tools that I have used over the past decade, all of the tools that I use when I'm working with the moon, working with my energy centers, my 4 energy centers of manifestation, those 4 I just mentioned. When I'm working to do shadow work and self-heal trauma, work on things from my childhood, reprogram my limiting mindset. All of these techniques that I've developed to do this, I've put into this program. And over the past 2 years, I've had 13 women journey through this program with me. So what do you get with the program? Well, first, you get access to a couple of bonuses. You get a free astrological birth chart of some form. It might be a mini version, it might be a full version based on your enrollment, but you get a little bit of astrological insight into what the sky looked like when you were born and how that influenced you. It will help you to understand who you are, how you show up to the world, how you emotionally process, and how you work towards manifesting your dreams. You also get another bonus. No matter how you sign up, you get my online program, Moon Magic. This is my signature online program that takes you on a journey through a full lunar cycle. So you learn about the full moon, the new moon, the half moons, and a little bit more about how they affect your energy. You also learn a little bit more about how these lunar phases affect your ability to manifest. Finally, when you sign up for Conscious Creatress, no matter how you sign up, you also get that free 28-day mini manifestation journey that I've been leading people through over this past lunar cycle. Now that's only going to be accessible to the public until this full moon in Virgo coming up here in about a week. but you are able to access this program forever when you sign up for Conscious Creatress. So maybe you don't want to go through the 16-week journey, 4 lunar cycles. Maybe you just want to do a quick little lunar cycle to kind of speed up your manifestation process or get back into the groove of some techniques. This is why I'm adding this into the program. Now, the program itself, every single day, you're going to have some sort of homework to apply to your everyday life and to apply toward your dreams and to apply toward yourself. You are making time for yourself every single day, 4 months in a row. And that's going to greatly impact you and your ability to create more. It's going to grow your confidence. It's going to make you feel more balanced with your emotions and your energy, because we're not always working on manifestation. We're not always doing. Sometimes we're resting. Just like in the message here from Sue Monk Kid, talking about the importance of rest, sacred dawdling, having that time for space and creativity. We learn what to do during those times when you don't really want to do things. We talk about the different phases of the moon and how that affects your ability to want to show up. You have things in your spiritual emergency kit, what I call a spiritual emergency kit, when you get in those SOS moments where you're feeling stuck or you're feeling overwhelmed. We have stuff for that too. But every single day, you get to tune in to some sort of homework that you can apply to yourself and your dreams. Every single week, you'll know what's coming up for every single day of that week, and you'll get a workbook so that you can follow along and take notes for each week of the 16-week journey. You're going to receive guided meditations. You're going to receive all kinds of work through the shadowlands of yourself. You're going to learn more about those 4 energy centers of manifestation. You may know nothing about energy or energy centers or chakras. No worries. This is beginner level, and I'm teaching you from a beginner level standpoint so that you can fully understand what you're working with and how you're moving that energy through. This is a totally different approach to manifestation. Now, you are going to learn how to make a vision board, but it's a little different than the typical vision board. It's not your cutting out pictures or making a Pinterest. It's going to be totally different. You're going to use a lot of mantra, a lot of meditation, and a lot of time tuning into your heart vibrations to ask yourself and find out what you really want, what you desire to create in this reality. You're also inducted into our sisterhood of conscious creation. Now, remember, I said that this is a program exclusively for women. It's nothing against men. We just work with the womb space a lot. We work specifically with the reproductive portions of the womb space, talking about the vagina and the cervix and like that concept of birthing things through the female womb. Even if you've never had a child, there's still a way to consciously conceive and consciously birth into the world from a female perspective. If you're a male and you want to create as well, I created Moon Magic for that very reason, and you can totally tune into that. But if you are a woman and you decide to sign up for Conscious Creatress, you will be inducted into our sisterhood of conscious creation. This is a private online group for all of the women that have journeyed through this program already. As I mentioned, there's 13 women that have either gone through the program or some of those women are currently working through the program. So this helps you to align with any of the women that have gone through it or are working through it now so that you have a safe space for support. You can ask questions. You can also reach me there if you need any questions answered or any guidance. It's a great space for you to connect with all of these other women doing the same work as you, and also having that sisterhood to really support your dreams. I'm not going to say anything else about this program. I think I've said enough. It is my absolute passion. When we talk about these things that are in our mind, these books that we never write, this was a program that sat in my notebook for about 5 years before I finally brought it into the world. And when I brought it into the world in January of 2020, I had no idea what was coming globally. But I do know the tools and techniques in the program, all of the women that have journeyed through the program, it has created a magical space, a container of magical sacred space for women to continue to heal, create, and feel stable in such a crazy world. So if you want to know more about Conscious Creatress, you can go to vinalene.com/cc, as in Conscious Creatress, vinalene.com/cc, and you can read all about the program, the different options for enrollment. There is a premium option to enroll and work with me privately, one-on-one, if you'd like to do that throughout your journey of the program. There's a lot of different options, including monthly payments if you don't want to pay in full, but you do save a bit if you do pay in full. But either way, plenty of options for you and plenty of information there. If you have any questions, you can always message me. Otherwise, make sure that you sign up before the deadline. I only open up registration a few times a year, so I have plenty of space and time to focus on the women going through the journey. So make sure that you sign up now so that you don't have to wait months down the road to start working on yourself and your dream. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, to hold your spiritual hand along the way and help your soul dreams truly catch on fire and spread into the world. Until I see you in the program or until I see you again, namaste.